Got Your Back Podstream is brought to you by Kinprint. For all your company's promotional needs, they do it all. Apparel, promotional products using the highest quality brands. They do logo design, signage, and printing. Kinprint will promote your brand with excellence. Visit kinprint.ca. What's going on, folks? Happy Sunday night to you. NFL Sunday night for you pigskin fans. Going to get to Struttie in a moment. He's licking his wounds. His team getting absolutely stomped on tonight. Sunday night edition of Got Your Back. Going to chat a little Dylan Holloway. Rob Brown going to check in as well. And on tonight's Struttie Says, by the way, we got a new name for the segment. We'll tell you what that is. Struttie's going to talk about one of his great passions in life, lawn care. Yes. Got Your Back. Brought to you, of course, by our title sponsors, Sherwood Buick GMC. Proud to have them as title sponsors this year. The place to go for an easy, painless buying experience for your new vehicle. They got a fantastic staff. Really good, lighthearted folks. You keep it light over there. Streamlined sales process as well, which is great. Quick and easy financing. They just have flat out fantastic vehicles. Go see Phil and the amazing crew over at Sherwood Buick GMC or visit SherwoodBuickGMC.com. They have stock, new and used. They're not going to keep you waiting. Time to check in with the fellas, Rob Brown and Jason Strudwick. Live streaming here, Struds. So if you're listening on the pod tomorrow, folks, or whatever, the damage is happening right now. Do we have an update on that score, Struddy?
I had a choice between watching the Giants play tonight or put together my son's new bed. After the first quarter, I chose to go put together the bed.
You're such a dad. You are such a dad. I love it.
And I'm not even that good of a dad. I'm more of a Giants fan than I am a good dad. But after watching that disaster, I'm like, you know what, babe? I think I will come up there and help put that bed together.
Yeah, you know what? Quality time is needed, right? 33-0. Minute 45 left in the third quarter for you there. So
tough start, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Lots of games left. What is it?
Brownie,
18-game season?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they got 10 months left. Brownie, do you follow the NFL? Do you have a team? I'll fully admit I'm not really that guy. Don't spend a ton of time on it, but I certainly will on the podcast this year just to abuse Struds and LeBron, by the way, over their Cowboys. Brownie, who's your team?
Well, shockingly, the KC Chiefs.
Okay.
I think my team's we're the Super Bowl champs. I don't know, Struds.
Lost by a point.
What a jump!
I know it was not. Oh, no, that's not true. I've always been a Chiefs fan for the last 3 years.
Let me guess, you were a New England Patriots fan before that. Hey, just
100%. Yep, absolutely. As a Green Bay Packer fan for a while, as a Tampa fan for a while.
Fair weather.
My teams always win, Struds.
Yeah.
My buddies get mad at me. My buddies are Lions fans. So yesterday I took a lot of abuse, or the other day I took a lot of abuse when the Lions won. It was a huge win, but my Chiefs are still going to come back.
There you go. You're a fair weather fan, Brownie. Like, pick something and stick with it, man. You go bouncing all over.
Well, I do. I do. I pick the best team and I cheer for them all year long.
You are. You know what? Cherry picking front runner. Hey, Struds. These offensive guys, they have these certain traits. Can't handle cheering for a losing team for too long. Switch allegiances. Who back checks? Who cares? All offense. All showtime. All the time, Brownie.
I only pick teams that have offense. Only offense. I don't pick any strong defensive teams.
Just like in hockey, Brownie's looking for the best centerman. He's looking for the best quarterback in the league. That's how he picks his favorite team.
Yeah.
100%. Why wouldn't you? Why be who had to build a bed today? You had to build a bed today because you picked a bad team.
And it's not done. So when we're all done this, I'll be going back up there with my little tiny tools and these massive hands trying to put it all together.
Oh, Struds, are you still using the little tools that come with it? You can't do that. You got to have your own tools to substitute in.
I do, but I like those. I like using those. I know exactly where they go, but I've probably got another hour tonight. So I'll be deep into the night. I'll be listening to Giants breakdown of their football game and putting this bet together.
Farhan Lalji going to join us in segment number 2 tonight. Talk a little bit about the Elks. Talk a little bit about the Vancouver Canucks. We had Corey Saritz the other day to talk about the Calgary Flames. So that's coming up. And then Struttie Says, our new segment name, we'll debut that. And we'll talk a little Dylan Holloway here. Zuby's running things in the background in Kelowna there. Zuby, I'm taking a look. So I'm in our long shot studio here in Sherwood Park, by the way, for a fantastic combination of great golf simulated with TrackMan simulators and fantastic food. Check out Long Shots locations, Stony Plain Road and here in Sherwood Park. So coming to you from the Long Shot studio. Zuby, why am I so much more red than these other guys? I feel like I was on the course today and I definitely took some sun, but our color balance is mucky tonight.
I always have you with the tomato filter on. Did I? I thought
Okay.
I thought you had requested that.
That's all you get to talk tonight. Go back wherever you came from.
Yeah.
No, I'm just a beat red after a day. And it was a day on the course though, so I'm not going to complain too much. Okay, guys, let's get to our breakdown because we want to talk a little bit of Dylan Holloway, and our breakdown is brought to you by Mr. Dirk, the iconic men's clothing store here in Edmonton, founded in 1939. If you've never been, you got to check it out just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. It's a beautiful showroom. Mr. Dirk has everything you need for every aspect of your wardrobe. They've got suits, they've got casual wear, they got shoes, absolutely everything. Go see Sterling, Dan, and the great staff down at Mr. Dirk. Dylan Holloway is the topic of our podcast tonight, guys. Struds, you and I often get into it on this pod over Dylan Holloway, so I'm really excited to have a new, fresh, offensive-minded voice in Rob Brown joining us. Listen, Brownie, last season, 51 games played, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points, 9 minutes and 35 seconds in average ice time. What are your expectations of what Dylan Holloway might be able to accomplish this season?
I think you'll see better consistency. I think he got off to a rough start last year. The nice training camp and exhibition.
First thing he did, he turned a puck over for a goal. That is
a rough start for any player, let alone someone trying to break into the league. It's a confidence killer. And then you're fighting back, and now you're trying to do things that are outside of your comfort zone because you want to try to impress and make up for the big mistake. So I think he'll be more consistent. I think you will see the physical side of his game. I think when he gets opportunities around the net, I think he'll have a little bit better finish just having a year under his belt. But my expectation is he'll start as a 3rd or 4th line player, and situations, injuries, how players are playing ahead of him will dictate when he moves up. But he's on the team. They need him on the team because of his contract. He's capable of playing, and at one point in his career, he'll be a top 6 player. But I don't know if he's going to start there. I don't think he'll start there. But I do believe he'll be a much more consistent and confident player this year than we saw last. What do you think, Struds?
Well, I can hear Ryan Rishaug dragging his soapbox into the picture, so I better get in here before he starts preaching to all of us about how he should
I decided I was going to let it breathe. I wasn't going to be too aggressive on the pod tonight, Struds.
McDavid, 97, and Hyman, Holloway and Hyman on the top line. Okay, let's just talk about what's going on. The Oilers are in a Stanley Cup run. They need Holloway for sure. I love the idea of what I think Holloway is going to become, but it takes time. Right? Those things don't just happen overnight. You look at where he is on the team. He has not earned the right to be in the top 6 because he's got 50 some games in the NHL. Now, if it was Connor Bedard or something like that, you'd probably find a way to squeak him in there, but he has not earned that right. And he's not ready for that role yet. He doesn't need that pressure, but I love what I think he is. I think he's fast. I think he's a smart hockey player. He can make plays with good players, be a good complementary player now. And he can be physical, as Brownie talked about. So I think you put him somewhere where he can have success, but I'll say this, he has to play. So he has to play. That doesn't mean he's getting 20 minutes a night. It means he's getting increase from the 9:45 from last year. The problem is he's not going to see the power play. That's just the reality. He's probably not going to see a lot of penalty kill time. So that is really hard on your ice time. Your ice time is chopped down big time when your beak isn't getting wet on either one of those two things. Could he become a penalty killer this year? I suppose he could, but I say again, who is he going to knock off to get on that power play? or sorry, that penalty, the power play, there's no chance. The penalty kill, I don't know who's going to knock off. So his ice time is going to be limited. I think it's going to be a challenge for Jay to get him involved. So I go back to my previous comment about trying to get more guys involved in the game with some power play time, but I don't want to bring that up tonight and rehash old wounds. Soapbox is yours, Ryan Rishaug.
No, I mean, there's really no, you just did the whole podcast in one answer. So thank you very much for joining us, folks. That was a 2-minute and 45-second filibuster from Jason Strudwick. Thanks for all the music. Thanks to East Johnson.
Go to bed, everybody.
Thanks to Sherwood Buick GMC. You know what, Struds? Because you know this is contentious between you and I. So you're wanting to get your licks in here early in the pod. But listen, I just want to have a calm conversation about this, okay? Yeah. I think, Brownie, here's where I come from. I think that Dylan Holloway, frankly, wasn't used properly early last season. I think he made some bad mistakes, and I think he ran into a situation where the coaching staff was under pressure to start strong and wanting to get off on the right foot, and so the tolerance wasn't there for a young player's mistakes. Hence, his first, what I got here, 16 games, no goals, 2 assists. He played under 7 minutes 7 times in his first 16 games. I just feel like he belonged in the American League to start the year. Couple that with the fact that Ken Holland himself had said, I'm not really here for a 4th line role, right? It was top 9 or get him in the American League and get him playing. That's not the formula that they followed. And as a result, they had a player making mistakes, didn't have his coach's trust, was working hard, and Jay Woodcroft tried to give him opportunity, but he wasn't willing to play him through some of those mistakes as they were happening in real time. And I think it hurt the player's confidence. I understand why they did it. And I don't think we can have a repeat this year. I don't think he can have a repeat this year. Dylan Holloway needs to be on the top 3 lines, or he needs to be in the American Hockey League. It needs to be 12 to 14 minutes a night for this guy, or 22 in the American League.
The thing is, I don't follow contracts enough to know if they can afford to send him to the American League.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. They like his number, but I mean, you got to do right by the player. This is a critical player in a critical year of his development. So let's set the contracts aside and focus on the player's development.
Well, to me, he's on your 3rd line, and the way, and I believe I completely agree with Struds. He's never getting on the power play here, and that might not be this year. He might not get on the power play here for 2-3 years because they are set for a long, long time. He has a better chance of becoming a penalty killer. But then again, to be a penalty killer, it's not easy. But it's something that it can be a learned trait. Where they're going to find him extra ice time is when Nuge kills a penalty and you come out of the penalty kill, now you put Holloway in Nuge's spot. Whoever, if he was playing with McDavid or if he's playing with Draisaitl. Yeah. If you had a long power play and you'd come back with Connor right away. Well, now Hyman was out in the power play. Holloway jumps in. That's where you got to create opportunities for Holloway to play with top 6 players and get minutes. Because as Strud said, if you're not on either of the specialty teams, it's really hard to find you ice time, especially in a league now that calls so many penalties. And you can get lost. And this is where you got problems for a lot of the Oilers players last year. If you weren't on either unit and all of a sudden you get 2-3 penalties in a row, now you're sitting 8 minutes in a row, 9 minutes in a row, and the coach isn't going to throw you out now because now it's a close game. So now the coach is going to leave you on the bench just because you were taken out of the game.
100%. Struds, you said in your first chapter there that you said you agree that he needs to play.
Yeah.
What do you think the minimum number acceptable minutes should be for Holloway on a night-to-night basis for him to have a chance at developing into the useful top 9 player that they need him to be when the puck drops in the playoffs this season? Because this is part of my issue. They needed to figure out what they had in Dylan Holloway last year because they needed him in the playoffs. And they got through an entire regular season without really getting that answer. They didn't really know, and they didn't trust him at playoff time. So whether it's 20 minutes a night in the minors or blank number of minutes during the regular season, how many minutes do they need to give him so they know what they've got?
Well, it's definitely got to be north of 10 minutes. But I don't know how he gets that. Like the 3rd line, if you're not on the power play or penalty kill, I don't know how you get over that much, right? Is he going to get 13 or 14 minutes of, 5-on-5 time. That's a lot of 5-on-5 time when you kind of look through the other guys. But to be fair, the Oilers last year, he probably should have been in the minors. They had some injury issues, so they kept him up.
No. Hang on. Hold the phone.
They did.
He should have been in the minors long before they had those injuries.
Well, but he would have been called back up. So
that
either
became
way,
the excuse after.
Okay.
But what about the other 14 games?
Yeah. And then no, that's fair. But what happens is that going up and down, like people think, I just go down for 2 games in the minors, get 20 minutes, and come back and have his confidence. It doesn't work like that. Like
I never thought that.
No, I didn't. I said people. I didn't say Ryan, although my eyes did.
I know.
But,
don't put those words in my mouth is what I'm saying to you.
So he needs to be somewhere let's just go back to Jesse Puljujärvi. There were times when he was younger where he was a little bit up and down. And I think there needs to be consistency for him. So, I can't imagine he's starting the minors. I'd just be blown away if that happens.
Yeah.
Although if he did, I'd be like, all right, what's the plan? All right, what is your thought process? He's going to go down there and play in all the situations you talk about. Then when there's injuries or you want a different look, you bring him up. Maybe we saw that with Kyler Yamamoto, the one year where he came up and really popped. So, I agree. I think you've got to find a way to develop him and get him going. But he's not going to get the minutes or the quality of minutes he wants to get here because of what's in front of him. But that's a good thing. How many good teams do you have a guy with 50 games coming in, dropping into the top 6? It's not that, often it happens, right? It's pretty unlikely unless you have a high end player that does it. Maybe Braden Point in Tampa, he came in and was pretty hot pretty quick. But I hope he can turn into that, but that's a pretty high number.
I got a stat for you. Of all the rookies in the National Hockey League last season, all the rookie forwards who played 50 games or more, there were 23 of them, rookie forwards that played 50 games or more. Dylan Holloway was second last in average time on ice among all rookie forwards in the National Hockey League that played regularly last year, to the tune of 50 games. Mark Kastelik of Ottawa was the only guy that was below him, and they were the only 2 that were under 10 minutes. Do you know why? Because everybody knows if you're going to have a rookie in your lineup, you can't play him that little.
Yeah,
so
but
the top 5. We're the top 5.
But before you go further on that, Ryan, the difference on that though is he plays on a team with Connor and Leon, who are the top 2 forwards. They're eating up his ice time. They're eating up the 3rd and 4th line players' ice time.
Right.
More than any other team in the league. I agree. I think to me he has to play 13 minutes a night.
Yeah.
But now you got to find a way to get him 13 minutes.
Well, and you make a great point, Brownie. And those are the mechanics by which that ice time was available to him, right? Because playing him through some mistakes and such, was difficult at times. We get why, but my point is then have, Brad Malone getting the 9 minutes, or have the whoever is not your your first round pick, who you want to be a top 6 forward, who you're going to need in 6 months in the playoffs. Dylan Holloway needed to be sharpening that knife. When he did play in the American League, 12 games, he had 10 points, scored 7 goals in the 12 games and had 10 points, got to raise his arms in the air, got to celebrate memorable moments, night in, night out. Brownie, you're an offensive guy. If you want to be an offensive player and breed offensive confidence, how important is it to be feeling it regularly as opposed to the 3 times that Holloway got to do it and go, woo, last season?
It's everything. It's all confidence. To be a goal scorer, it's believing in yourself, believing you can do it. And if it's not happening on a consistent basis at the top level, you feel it. You go home and you think about it. You worry about it. You come on the ice in practice. You don't have that confidence. A good goal scorer to great goal scorer, everything's instinctive. There's no thought process. When you're struggling, all of a sudden you're thinking. And that's when you double clutch. That's when you pass instead of shoot. That's when, should I snap it? Should I slap it? You start thinking, then you lose, you lose your opportunity. Everything just closes in on you that much quicker. And so a goal scorer has to have success to breed confidence to make him even more successful. So yeah, I agree. He's got to play and he's got to find success up here, because if he loses his confidence, he's no good for the Oilers come April, March, May, June, all those type of games.
Yeah, it's funny, Struttie. You and I actually don't really even disagree that much on this, because we both feel the player needs to play. I think that he's going, let's get more into what we think is going to happen instead of the discussion of what should happen. Struds, what do you think Dylan Holloway is going to come in and do at camp?
Well, I think I'll go back to what Ray Ferraro said. And Ray said he has to come in and just leave no doubt in the coach's mind that he needs more ice time and needs a bigger role. And that's right from day one. And it's not taking a back seat to anybody. Now, it's pretty hard to force yourself on the power play, but if you get a chance to practice it, with the second unit, act like it is game 7 and is the most important thing. Same thing with the penalty kill. If you get a chance to be able to do a penalty kill, make it pretend like your parents' life depends on you killing this penalty, right? Like that is, you've got to get the attention of the coach, and because they kind of have their guys set, so you get, oh, you know what? Holloway looked pretty good in preseason. Let's put him in the penalty kill before Nugent Hopkins. Excuse me? Like that's not happen, or Connor McDavid or Leon or Jaime, or like whoever is out there. It's not going to happen. So you have to make the case. And quite honestly, guys, he's probably gonna have to wait for an injury to get in there. So he has to keep prepping and getting ready. Once he gets that chance, take it and run with it. So they're like, okay, we got to get this guy up there. So I think it's unlikely he starts here in the minors. I think he's probably on the third line. I think it's going to be hard for him to get the 13 minutes like Brownie talks about. I really think that'll be a challenge. And it's because there's so many guys in front of them. They're going to eat a ton of minutes. Like who's going to be, like of those 6 guys, who's going to be the lowest minute guy? Probably, is it Connor Brown?
Probably Connor Brown, I would think. I mean, well, he'll kill penalties. Yeah.
Like Kane won't be on the power play. He kills a little bit of penalties. I mean, he's probably those are probably the lowest 2 guys.
Yeah. Well, if they go with a full 2 5-man unit power play, Struds, as you suggested.
Let me defend myself. I said after 75 seconds, roll them out there. I bet you we're going to see it, guys.
I know. I'm making fun of you, but I do think there's some sense in what you're saying about it's really critical over the long term that more guys get to raise their arms in the air and be part of it and feel it. Like Brownie, I mean, you were such a big part of the offense that were provided on your teams. But when you had, secondary or tertiary guys that were scoring and contributing, I mean, the other guys are supposed to. But when you get those other guys and they get their cookies and their moments, and maybe Holloway can be part of gobbling up some of those if his confidence gets going, in the moment in game when they're not scoring, they're getting that opportunity and they're not scoring. Maybe it feels frustrating or fans are like, why is he out there, right? Maybe it's tough to stick with it. But it pays dividends down the road in big moments when those guys are used to feeling part of it that way.
Well, if you look throughout the playoffs, when third or fourth line players scored for the Oilers, they usually won those games because their stars always did what they were supposed to do. But when they got other contributions, all of a sudden they found success. And over through the regular season, same thing.
Yeah.
I remember in junior, my last year junior, I played for Hitch. I had 200 and some points. We had a 5-on-3 power play.
Subtle brag there, Struttie. Subtle brag there.
So I had 200.
I don't know how many.
I had 200 some points more than Struds that day.
There's no 212 tattoo on my body anywhere.
But we had a 5-on-3 power play in the game, and Hitch pulled me off the ice, and I was mad. I was so mad. I go back to Hitch. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "What if you hurt in the playoffs? I have to see if someone else can do it." And I think that was a great point as a learning point for me. Is like, so if all of a sudden Connor or Leon gets hurt or can't play in a game in the playoffs, who do you stick out there and have confidence with? So sometimes you do have to run other guys just to be able to see what they're capable of doing in big moments. And Kitch was the one that taught me. And I think right now with the Oilers, sometimes start your second unit. And what you're doing there too is you're sending a message to the second unit. But seriously, start your second unit. You know what it would feel like if you're on the second unit and you're going out there like, okay, let's score. The coach just put us out ahead of Connor and Leon. Let's go out there and score.
Those other guys better be bent over, gasping for breath because they're at the end of a shift.
But sometimes you got to do it though. To become a better hockey team.
He did it. I'll give Jay Woodcroft credit though, Struttie. Like he did it a few times to send a message if he didn't like what he saw from the number 1 unit. Go ahead.
Yeah. And they're incredible. That top unit's incredible. Like I'm not suggesting that they're not playing, but if the game's out of hand, if there's 10 minutes left, you're up 4-1. Put the second line out there.
Great point.
Just get it for 2 reasons. 1, it gets them going. 2, it's less wear and tear on the big guys. Like, we know the power play is good. Everyone knows that. Do we need to get other guys going? Yes, you do. And other guys feeling it. And I think Brownie's point's really well made about, knowing that other guys can step up in the playoffs or different situations. So I think you have to look at everything. and what you can do to help this team be more complete and more ready at any moment.
Yeah. No, great points, guys. And it is a great discussion. He's one of the players that I'm going to be most interested to watch in training camp. By the way, remember the training camp he had last year? Remember the exhibition season he had last year? Got up onto that top line, and was it 3 or 4 goals he scored? He just had a ridiculous exhibition game there.
Was that the same year that Perlini had 20 goals in the preseason?
I know Ty Ratty didn't he lead the preseason in scoring the one year too?
Ty Ratty.
Yeah.
Ty Ratty didn't love to get the puck off on the wall in his own end.
Oh, I know. Listen, getting a few questions in on the stream. Want to clarify, we are live streaming the podcast tonight. We're on YouTube and on Twitter. And we see we have a lot of people chiming in on the stream, and we love that. We really appreciate it. We're going to do a Ask Us Anything segment towards the tail end of the podcast, and Zuby behind the scenes is going to keep track of these, but we see a bunch of great questions coming in, some good comments here. I agree with Brown, says McDoust. Oilers need to stop focusing on short-term gains and thinking long-term. I think that's a fair comment. Davin says Holloway is going to rip up the bottom sixes on other teams. So Davin suggesting he's ready to step in and impose himself on other teams' bottom-tier players. Not sure if he's there. Nice combination of speed, and he is not afraid to play a physical game too. So Holloway definitely can have an impact. Brownie, much appreciated, buddy. We're going to let you go.
Hold on, Shog, I just got one more comment I want to get to. It's from Jason_Strudwick. Hey, Brownie, nice shirt. Did you go to a science camp today? Is that why you have that button on your shirt?
That's not a button. My wife made it for me. It's Wrexham. Wrexham, the soccer team, football team. Ryan
I'm
Reynolds.
Rob.
For you?
I was at the science center today. I completed a camp.
Rob, your wife made that for. That is really sweet of her.
Isn't it though?
That is really sweet. And you know what? I think those things need to be celebrated. So good for her. Rob, I think your shirt is fine. Struds, you're being
Shame on you. Shame on you, Struds.
Is that a scout's badge for starting a fire or what? Set up a
I
tent?
can't start a fire. I can't. That wouldn't get
Brownie, why don't the two of you come for dinner tomorrow night and we'll hang out the 4 of us?
That's wonderful. I appreciate that. Just don't invite mean Mr. Strudwick.
No. Only friends on the podcast get to have dinners. Good stuff, Brownie. Much appreciated, buddy. I know you're on a roadie this week, but we'll try and check in with you. Great analysis tonight. Love having you on the pod, pal. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you, Ryan, and bye, Jason.
Good stuff. That is the great Rob Brown. Brownie's appearances on the podcast this year, by the way, brought to you by our good friends over at Kinprint. If your business needs little apparel, little swag, check out Kinprint. Great company. We're going to get some swag done up on the pod this year. Farhan Lalji is on the way. Stick with us. One commercial, and we are back. Long Shots Golf is the destination for both golf enthusiasts and sports fans. Top-of-the-line TrackMan simulators provide a highly entertaining and accurate golf experience, while a full-service sports bar loaded with big screens and scratch kitchen make it a truly unique destination. They have locations in Sherwood Park in Edmonton. Experience the best indoor golf and sports bar in town. Visit longshots.ca. That's longshots with a Z.ca. All right, welcome back to Got Your Back. Zuby, that's a heck of a cool commercial you put together, buddy. That animation for long shots, like you pulled out all the digital stops, my friend. Like, how long did that take you to put together?
I don't know, a few hours. I started with it. It's not from scratch. I've had a little bit of help from a template, as I did with the Struttie Says intro. But it's fun to build those. Adds a little something to the pod.
Yeah, other than my bright red face, you're doing a great job on the production value of the podcast so far this season. We love that, buddy. Thank you.
I appreciate it. We'll get you back to normal skin tones here in the future.
Yeah, thanks.
What took longer, building that board or finishing your basement?
Oh, the basement, not even close.
No, yeah.
Basement's still not finished. I still have these old posters behind me here that I haven't even put my backdrop up yet.
By the way, Strud, we still got to figure out your backdrop, Struds. Like, you can't be chirping Zoo because your backdrop, like, you've got all this space between the pictures. We can't really see what the pictures are. They're kind of hanging uneven. You got too much headspace in your shot. Like, you're still a little sloppy on your end, bud.
I get compliments all the time. Hey, you're looking nice on the pod. Thank you.
You are actually getting some love on the stream. A couple of comments about Just for Men, but I do have to say, like, the hair's on point tonight. You're looking like you're freshly showered. Like, you're looking pretty good tonight.
Yeah, and funny. Like, I'm feeling witty, even though my Giants, I believe it's now 40-0.
Oh boy,
it's awful.
Farhan Lalji joins us on the phone. Maybe I'll just let you guys talk about the NFL for like the next 2 minutes, and I'll just quickly run to the can, and then when I get back, we'll do some hockey and some Canucks. Farhan, you were in Seattle, correct? And saw they lost, did they not?
Yeah, Seattle surprisingly lost. Big expectations around the Seahawks this year, and they went faceplant, my friend. Kind of like you in those Athens pictures you were just posting of me.
You like that? You like that picture? So you can't see the stream, but that's actually, we're using that as your picture, voice of picture on the stream. Is that picture from 2004? A young, svelte, fully headed
there
hair.
are stories I could tell you about Ryan Rishaug dancing at one of the myriad of pubs in the Placa with our producer Bill Dodson, and it was. Yeah, I should probably leave that alone. I'll stop there.
No, Billy and I did some dancing. Glad we didn't
take pictures.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
You guys want to talk Giants at all, or you want to just move on from that, Struds? There's probably not.
Well, like I was texting with LeBron, and he's of course like the world's biggest Cowboy fan, and that's hard because there's a lot of big Cowboy fans out there, and he's in Vegas right now for this NHL players junket, and he is in his room in Vegas watching every last morsel of this game. So getting LeBron and Strudwick on for this might be a good segment, although you would completely be lost. Because do you even know a name involved, Rishaug, in this game?
Yeah, Matt Stafford went 24 for 38 for 334 in the Rams game.
Yeah, except
anyway.
he doesn't play for Dallas or the Giants.
I know, but I'm saying we were just talking about them.
But I will say this: the last time I checked, Dak Prescott is the quarterback of the Cowboys, and it's not like he's having a great night considering the points they're putting up. So I don't know. I think this is a big problem for the Giants this first game, but I wouldn't be too thrilled if I'm a Cowboys fan.
Yeah,
dude, I'm telling you, Struds, if you're really a Giants fan, like I was never big on this contract that they had to give Daniel Jones. They kind of overplayed their hand a little bit and let him get into the last year of his deal. And now all of a sudden you had one good year and they had to pay him, and he is not worth that. So I think you're gonna be wearing that mistake for a little while, my friend.
I know. It goes back to drafting Saquon. I don't know. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but there's a lot going on there that I think are going to take time to unravel. And I love Saquon. I love him, but I just don't know that's where you draft a running back.
Farhan, let's start with a little bit on the Edmonton Elks last night. You know Trey Ford. You and I had a good conversation about him when he was first handed the ball as the Elks starter. Listen, so dynamic, but so interesting to see in one game the two sides of this young player. You know, what we saw early on and the two interceptions versus what he was able to pull out later on. You know this player well. Is this about what you were expecting from Trey Ford when you heard that they were going to give him the ball and let him run with it? Or where are you at?
Yeah, I completely expected this, and that's not a shot because I think he's going to be a really talented player and one of the best in this league, and he needs to be given time, right? And the thought that a young guy and look, this is an elite athlete, like an NFL level set of athletic tools that dominated youth sports, but like that's not the breeding ground for professional quarterbacks at this level, right? So he's gotten the opportunity not because of what he showed as a quarterback in youth sports, but what he showed as an athlete. And, and one of the big downfalls of the youth sports system is just how few games they play relative to an NCAA schedule. So, like in the previous 2 years, because of COVID, Trey Ford played in 7 youth sports football games. 7, right? So now all of a sudden, he comes to Edmonton, and last year he plays in 2 games. In the one that he won, he kind of more didn't lose it than he actually won it. And that, again, that's not a shot. He's a young player, and that's going to happen. And then he got hurt in the second game. So the thought from some people in Edmonton now that he's done well, that, they should have given him the ball right at the start of the year. That's ridiculous, like completely ridiculous, given the body of work. Should they have got to him earlier? Sure. But now you're going to see this, right? Because we know what he can do athletically, but at some point, he also needs to sit back and handle coverages that are incredibly more complex than what he dealt with at youth sports, right? So it's going to take time. And look, Like, I've followed Vernon Adams quite closely, and I don't think Vernon Adams is the athlete that Trey Ford is, right? From a pure twitch and speed standpoint. But look how long it's taken for Vernon Adams to get to this point, right? 2019, he was the East finalist for MOP. Then he took another step back, and now he's playing great football for BC with a really good coordinator and support cast. So there are going to be some highs and lows with this player, and just appreciate the highs and don't overreact to the lows, because he will get there, but it's going to take some time.
Considering the type of athlete he is and the way he likes to play the game, how much do the Elks have to maybe pivot from the type of players that they surround him with on the offensive side of the ball to kind of move and jive and get open so they can kind of get in rhythm with him?
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily a case of changing the players, right? But I think that they have already begun the process of trying to change what they want to emphasize offensively. I think Jarius Jackson's done a pretty good job of doing that. And it didn't look great in the first three quarters of this last game, but certainly the previous game in Calgary, it looked that much better. And to be truthful, I think that in the fourth quarter, I was really, I don't want to say shocked or whatever, but Calgary, the way they played, they were setting themselves up for a colossal failure just because their DBs are so bad that for them to decide to only rush three and give Trey Ford all day was just not a good idea. And eventually, like Edmonton's receivers are better than Calgary's defensive backs. They were either going to get open when he was running around, or they were going to win contested balls, right? And I think that's probably something that they've got in the building with guys like Gino and Dunbar and Mitchell, guys that have the ability to win jump balls, because Trey Ford's not going to be completely precise. Like, you look at the fourth quarter deep balls he threw to Gino Lewis and to Dylan Mitchell, both were underthrown, but they were completed, right? So it's just in practice, you've got to spend time on scramble drills, and you've got to spend time on, different route concepts as opposed to just the quick outs that so many coordinators are guilty of when you've got a young quarterback. Don't let him play. Just get the balls out of his hands early. And that's just not effective, in my opinion, because it doesn't set this kid up. Because in Trey Ford's case, if you're going to take the chance to let him throw down the field, that's good because he can do it, but that gives him time. It gives time for defenders to clear and him to escape. Whereas when you get the ball out of his hands quick, there's really no escapability there, and there's so many players near the line of scrimmage. So I think they've emphasized different things that just then allows Trey Ford to shake loose and take advantage and make magic.
You guys still got me? My computer froze up there for a sec, but Struddy, you hear me?
I gotcha.
All right, good stuff. The thing that I liked, thanks, Farhan. The thing that I like, guys, beautiful night, 30,000 plus. Fans look like they were having a blast. Trey Ford and the Elks over the last few weeks have really given them something to buy back into. And I thought it was a great atmosphere at the stadium last night. And quite frankly, I was really happy to see that. And I just think a tip of the cap to Elks fans who have been riding through this garbage for a long time. And the moment it starts to look up, they're right there again. And I was impressed by that last night. I'm going to transition to the Vancouver Canucks here, Farhan. Before I do, though, I got to remind you that our takeaway segment is brought to you by Martin Motorsports, one of our newest sponsors here on the pod. Forgot to do their read at the start of the segment. So sorry, Chris. Martin Motorsports is your one-stop marine recreation shop, whether it's on land, on snow, on water, on the road. You can begin your adventure with Martin Motorsports. They have top-of-the-line brands. Whatever you want, the best you can get, they've got it for you. Their showroom is absolutely spectacular. So check out Martin Motorsports, locations here in Edmonton. Farhan, let's get to the Vancouver Canucks. And just, there was improvement. There was improvement when Rick Tocchet got there. All those defensive metrics that were so bad, underline that defensive improvement and then ask yourself with what they added, can they start to make that a little bit more the foundation of what they're going to try and do here? You look at Susie coming in and Cole coming in and some of the forwards they added. Was that improvement enough to make you think they maybe have some more defense to hang their hats on?
Yeah, they're better defensively. I think there's no doubt about it. But you are also going to ask players to play up in the lineup than they're necessarily used to. And that doesn't always work, right? I mean, I think people warned Vancouver management when they signed Tyler Myers. Look, this guy's a third-pair defenseman. You put him in a top-four role, you're going to have problems. And they were convinced that they could do that because they wanted bigger players. And he's proven to be a problem when he's in a top-four role and you can't control his matchups. Now, Ian Cole has shown moments in Tampa where he's been able to play in that role, even though most players, most people kind of regard him as a bottom pair guy on an elite team. But in Tampa, he did spend some time playing higher up in the lineup and had some success. And in Carson Soucy, another guy that generally is in a bottom six role, but when he has played in tougher matchups has been able to do that. So can he do it for a full season? We'll see. And people talk about structure so much here, and it did get better under Rick Tocchet, and certainly the other pieces they've added, right, including a guy like even Teddy Bluger, right? And now they've got some guys that have some penalty killing chops. And that was so bad for this team, like historically bad for the first 50 games last year, right? So I think they're going to get better in that regard. I think Thatcher Demko, he really struggled before he shut it down for injury and then came back and played at a really high level again. I think he'll be better. So, if they could even improve that part of their game, right? The biggest thing the Canucks need to do right now, guys, don't be dead and buried by November, right? Like they're so far out of it with how bad their starts have been the last 2 years that we're sitting here doing math before the end. Like by Grey Cup, we're doing hockey math. And it's not good because now they're in constant chase mode and they'll get into a run. Last year we saw the schedule. We knew it was going to play out that way that, they've got these really weak games coming up and they'll make hay. And then all of a sudden they're going to go on this crazy road trip, which is going to get tough. And sure enough, it all happened that way. And that's when they made the coaching change. Just stay in the conversation, and they've got back-to-back games with Edmonton to start, and then they go on a road trip, right? So it's like right there, everybody's looking at that. Like you can't lose both to Edmonton and then go on the road and deal with that. So, but I do think their roster is better in the areas they needed to improve. They've got some guys with defensive capability, so it's not a fire drill in their own end constantly and setting their goaltenders up for failure.
Farhan, from a distance, it feels like a team that, like that guy they go to the casino with and he loses 500. He's like, lend me 500. And you lend him 500, then he loses and you lend him another 500. And you're just constantly chasing it. And I'm not saying this to be mean to I have a warm place in my heart for the Canucks, but I just feel like they're always just trying to mask what's going on or fix a mistake or a personnel change or a coaching change or whatever. It feels like something we actually saw a little bit the Oilers for a time. So what is the long-term plan? Like who are they building around Pettersson and guys like that? Like who are the guys? Like what is the foundation and financial plan for this group?
Well, the core, as every team likes to use, is Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, JT Miller now that they're paying him, and Thatcher Demko, right? And then everything else is negotiable after that. So, and Pettersson's the key because he's not wanting to extend right now. And I don't think this is going to be a Matthew Tkachuk situation just inherently, right? He truly likes Vancouver. He wants to be here. He wants to live here. He wants it to work here. But he's not going to sit here and toil in this BS that he's been served for all these years. And for Canucks fans who think there's some moral obligation for this guy to extend because the club has done that and so for him, garbage, right? Like he's also done a lot for the organization. And they need to show him that this isn't going to be a train wreck. So if he wants to wait until next year, I applaud him because I truly believe that if the team plays in a meaningful way and can get themselves into the playoffs and, whatever, win a round or just be competitive and just see a light at the end of the tunnel, he'll sign. So that's plan number one. And then everything else is kind of negotiable, right? And, to your point, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And they've always chased it, right? So they had an opportunity with a bunch of really bad contracts to just let it play out for another year, but they didn't. They traded them all for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, right? And then they had to buy out Ekman-Larsson. And, then now the good thing here is they at least haven't given ridiculous term to everybody, right? And even the contracts they signed this year, right? Soucy signed a 3-year deal. Cole got a 1-year deal. Bluger got, I think, 2 years. Like they're reasonable terms as opposed to when they're giving Roussel and Gagne and whoever 4-year terms because nobody else was going to come.
That was a ridiculous stretch. Yeah,
I know, right? And so that's the thing is that you look now and they've made reasonable bets based on term. Last year they gave McCabe a 4-year deal. Did that make sense? Not 100% sure, but it wasn't a debilitating cap number. So Philip Roenick, right? They gave up 2 firsts. And I really question that, right? They gave up the first they got in the Bo Horvat deal, and they did this for a now player that now has only 1 more year on his deal. So what are you going to do there, right? Like, we didn't get to see much of him last year. So there are some things that they do, but overall, I think they're reasonable bets. Even Kuzmenko, 2-year deal, right? Can he recreate what he did this year? So as long as they can keep the term down on these guys and give themselves some exit strategies, it's good. They'll be better if they're healthy, and if they are, maybe they can get themselves into a position that Pettersson wants to stay, because he is the foundational piece, right? And if they lose him, then they're completely starting over again.
38, 37, and 7. Missed the playoffs for the third straight year, for the seventh year in the last 8. So I don't think this will be their year, but just some good, solid improvement is what I think Canucks fans can realistically expect. And it's going to be interesting. Farhan, thanks for doing this, my friend. We want to have you back somewhat regularly on the pod, if you don't mind. You good for that?
Sure, as long as the ratio is like 70-30 football to hockey.
Oh, God. I can't promise that.
You got to think.
I'd love to.
Okay, so if we can do that, Struds can handle the interview. You go to the bathroom, and every.
I'm not going to the bathroom. It's my show. Don't kick me off my own show. Well, it's our show.
Hey, wait a minute. Struds is a star. You're just a stickhead.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Thank you, Farhan.
He and Brownie are definitely the stars.
You're welcome back every day.
Yeah. Good stuff, Farhan.
Right.
Thanks, my friend. Let's keep in touch, buddy.
All right, see you, pal.
All right. That is Farhan Lalji, the longtime senior TSN bureau reporter who does a great job covering the Lions, the NFL, the Canucks, and the National Hockey League for us out in Vancouver. Okay, Struttie. Time to take center stage. So we have to apologize to Zuby here, because we were going to name the segment Struttie Says, and we kind of changed our minds midstream. Zuby went and put this amazing animation together.
Top notch. Like, we got a 10 out of 10 editor, and he applied his skills and came up with this animation, and then we changed the name of the segment. So in recognition of his hard work, one last time tonight, we're going to run the animation for Struttie Says, but we're here tonight to let you know the new name of the segment. Nice, simple, clean. Struttie's World. Because it is Struttie's World. The rest of us are just existing in it. And so Struttie's World will be the new segment moving forward. But Zuby, go ahead and roll that beauty of an animation, buddy, one last time. Look at that. Top notch.
That's a lot of work put into that. I feel bad that's a few adjustments he can still make it.
I'd like to exactly. And I want to just reach out and give this a special dedication to my man Zuby. That was a solid 8 out of 10 animation. So when it comes to my yard, I take great pride in my dad. I come from a long line of people who took care of the yard. My dad was big into his yard. My grandpa had amazing flowers. Crazy. I never was into flowers. Now I'm getting into flowers. But the crown jewel of my yard is my lawn. Oh, man. It is top notch. And for years, I've been building up. I've been in this house for about 6 years. It was good when I moved in. My neighbor was good. But then we got a dog. And anyone knows that the dog will, they have a way of just destroying your lawn. And I came out of this winter. There was like just patches all over the place from, the things the dogs do on the lawn. I take a lot of pride. I don't think there's been a greater greenskeeper on the planet since Caddyshack and Carl Spackler. And that's why I compared myself. That's right. Carl Spackler. I got out there and I've got a special blend. I'm not going to share with everybody, but how to patch grass. And I was out there today. I was mowing the lawn, going back and forth. And I said, this might be the greatest lawn west of Augusta. And I'm not even kidding. Even my neighbor peeked his head over the fence. He's like, man, you got a good lawn. I'm like, yeah, I do. And this blend, to be able, anyone has a dog, to be able to put seed down in the proper mixture. I don't want to tell you what I use, but there is some dirt. There is some other peat moss and things like that. Another special little thing I put in. I don't want to tell anyone, but it brings it back stronger than ever. And it's resisting all the pee stains and all that for my dog. My lawn is top notch. So anyone out there who takes great pride in their lawn, I even cross cut it sometimes. That means you go one way and then you go the exact opposite way, or I guess perpendicular to it, to give it that look like you see in baseball stadiums. It looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing. My goal is someday maybe be Forrest Gump. I'll just cut lawns at soccer fields back and forth, riding around, got a pod in my ear, maybe a drink in my hand. I'm not sure if that's allowed on the fields. But anyways, I love my lawn. And Shogger, I saw yours. I gave it a nod. I looked at it. Okay. It's passable. But I take a lot of, and again, Carl Spackler from Caddyshack. That's who I'm comparing myself to. One of the greatest all-time known greenkeepers in history of the world.
We got some stuff to unpack here, buds. We got some stuff to unpack. So basically your message is, in today's Struttie's world, I got a great lawn. It's awesome. I'm really good at doing lawns. So congratulations. First of all, congratulations. Like, good
Thank
for
you.
you. That's awesome. I respect that. But Zuby, I feel like there's a couple of things we got to dive into here, bud. The thing that I question the most is why you will not give up your quote unquote recipe to anyone else. Do you feel like this is some sort of a competition? Do you feel like, why would you be so proprietary about something that most guys and girls out there who take care of their lawn are listening to are like, oh, that's really neat. What do you do, Struds, as a friend and someone that also cares about my lawn? Can you pass on your little life hack?
I don't want to be commercially stolen. I think that there'll be someone out there why do you guys laughing? You know, these are the things I think about. I have a blend that works, and it's been something I've been tinkering this. Our dog's 3 years old. It's been 3 years I've tinkered with this, and I think I've got it perfect. I've got it perfect. Just like in Jurassic Park when they brought those dinosaurs back from a little mosquito from inside whatever it was. I've done the same. I'll bring grass that's dead back from the dead. I'm not kidding. Maybe next year I'll just kind of time lapse it, take pictures every day over the month. It's 30-day guarantee. And I'm not even trying this to be funny, guys. This is the truth. That's how confident I am in my bring back my grass solution.
Well, it 100% is a competition. I don't know if I mean, if they came and knocked on your door, I hope that but you can't go out there. I'll say, Struttie, you gave my animation 8 out of 10. I think you'd give my lawn an 8 out of 10 too. Maybe a high 7.
You're
or
a lawn
something
guy
like that.
too, hey, Zoobs.
It is. It's my, and I don't, you're getting into the flowers and stuff. I have to say, I kind of leave that. I don't care about the flower. What I want is stuff that doesn't attract wasps. If it doesn't attract wasps, and we have tons of deer in our area and doesn't get eaten by the deer, then I'm in favor of it. But the lawn is my thing, and I'm surprised. I do care about it. I want mine to be better than the guy next door. But if I had a special blend, I don't know. Maybe I would share it.
You would share it. Stretch, you're being weird. By the way, Davin has been really active on the chat. He just came right over the top on you, Struds.
Okay.
Like Davin came right over the top, and we can kick him after this if you want. But he says, Struds, patch the lawn on your head. Fix that. It's right down.
Guys,
Davin off the top rope.
I can't do everything. That's actually really funny for a guy. Is his name Davin or Davin?
No, it's Davin with a D. Davin.
Davin. Well, I think enough said right there. But I will say this: that is a funny chirp for a guy named Davin. But I will say I can't solve everything because that's cheaper. I mean, getting the hair done, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that at that point. I just finished the teeth off. I'm not sure I want to do my hair just yet.
Curb84, who, by the way, I've seen him on some other live streams and stuff. He's pretty chirpy. Curb84 is. He says, did Rona have a flooring sale and you guys bought the remaining stock? He's asking about our backgrounds. Well done, Curb84.
I always thought,
yeah, go ahead.
I always thought it would be so funny if we cut out to a wide shot and you guys are actually sitting in the same space. We just put a little
right over there.
You guys are right next to each other.
Well, we're doing 4 pods a week, so Struttie moved in now.
Might as well.
Shona and Randine are staying at the Strudwick household. Struttie's here. Struttie's World this season going to be brought to you by a couple of sponsors, but really, really thrilled and proud to have Pathfind on board. If you own or operate a business, you know the value of a great employee. So Pathfind is there to help you find your next star player, to help take your business to the next level. They can help with recruitment, career transition, leadership, coaching. They truly have your whole team covered. Find your organization's path forward at pathfind.ca, a great local company, and we're really happy to have them on board. That was a solid Struttie's World. Someone asked us on the pod what was wrong with Struttie Says. Now, I have to say, Struds, you were the one that kind of pushed the idea that we needed to change the name. So I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, just something a little bit more beefy, right? Like, and I've nothing against Struttie says. I just think that, you just want. I don't know. I just think we strive for very high results here, and I think we had better in us. And I think
Do we?
between all of us, I liked it.
Do we strive?
I think we do. I mean, look, I've changed my background like 5 times.
I like it. We could
Multiple
probably
new mics.
rename some of our other segments too. We're open to suggestions. By the way, Curb84 says just joking, boys. So he's feeling guilty now. See, he's
don't feel
backing
bad.
off of it.
Don't
now
back
you just
off.
took all the edge away. You got to own that shit, man. Like you went there. Own it. You can't back off now.
Yeah, don't back off like Dalvin. Like, be like Dalvin. He
Not
hangs
Calvin.
in there.
It's Davin.
Calvin?
No, it's not Calvin. It's Davin.
Dalvin.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
all
like
the same.
David with an N on the end, not Dalvin
It's
Cook,
like-
the running back. You're in
like
football mode, I think.
Yeah, it's like if a Kevin and a David just like went 1,000 miles an hour face first into one another, and a Davin is what would result from that. That's what. But he's a regular on the stream, so we appreciate him.
I'd love to know just give us the background of your name, just at some point. Just
Yeah,
slide
okay,
it
send
in
us
there.
that, Davin.
That's all we're asking for.
Davin says, I'm reporting this stream, so we're going to be reported now to YouTube and to Twitter. This is officially cyberbullying. So,
To who, his parents?
hey, Davin, go up. Mom, they're being mean to me. From your basement, Davin. We're kidding. We kid. Thank you for joining us on the stream. All right, last segment of the day, although we're basically already doing it. We're going to call it Ask Us Anything, because that's really, we push for the top, Struttie, when we name things. Ask Us Anything will be a regular segment on the podcast this season. So we'll take some questions in off the stream, both Twitter and on YouTube. Anything you want to ask us. It could be hockey, football, I guess, life, movies, TV, whatever you want. Talk about your lawn. Fire your questions at Struds and I. For this episode, Weiss Johnson will be our sponsor for this segment. 45 years in the business. We talk about him all the time on the podcast. Call Dennis and the great crew at Weiss Johnson. They do a great job. HVAC, furnaces, air conditioners, hot water tanks, anything you need. Or if you need anything serviced, Weiss Johnson is absolutely the place to go. They have the experience, the best shop in town, and by a mile have the best jingle in town.
Weiss Johnson, whoa.
All right, ask us anything, Zuby. Let's get to the stream. What have the masses been saying besides Davin and his chirping?
Well, you got to be careful giving airtime to these chirpers, or that's gonna turn the entire stream. It's gonna be Chirp Fest 23, which is okay, but we want
a good chirp.
we want a little meat on the
well.
bone too.
As long as they're good natured, we'll give them some love.
They were from earlier on. Clipped a couple. Still talking Oilers. Mick Doust said that he heard maybe there were some rumblings of the Oilers signing someone else at league minimum. Who else to you guys would make sense in that spot? It didn't specify position, but if there's someone out there, a name that comes to mind for you.
I'll go out on a bit of a limb here and throw a little cold water on this. My understanding is at this point, it would be unlikely, I think, for another PTO or for potentially another contract to drop in. Now, Greg's knows his stuff. I've heard him say it as well. But my information at this point is that it's not as likely. Could definitely still happen. So I actually didn't spend a ton of time looking into it, because when I looked into it with a few people, it was kind of giving the indication that it wasn't too likely. Like, they've got people to compete for these job, Struds. That fourth line center spot, I think they're hoping that Brandon Sutter can come in and maybe take a run at that. Hasn't played in a while, but he's the type of player you would want in that position. You've got Sam Gagner, you've got Peterson. The other thing I want to say to you, Struds, about that fourth line center position, remember, folks, Dylan Holloway can play some center. Don't be surprised to see Dylan Holloway in the 4C spot from time to time. Oh, you muted yourself, Struds.
Oh, no, we lost Struds. We lost your audio, pal.
Sorry about that. So Dylan Holloway on the fourth line would hurt his ice time, right? So I think that's something we kind of touched on earlier. All the guys you mentioned, Sam Gagner, I love. It's a great guy to have in there. Sutter's a great story. Can he come back? And all these guys will get a chance. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I think someone might find it, then they might maybe on waivers if there's the right fit there, or maybe later on in the year they'll find a guy to trade to take that spot if no one can really fill the role they're looking for, maybe like at a Bukestad, kind of how they brought him in last year. But the guy that I honestly, I don't know if he fits the fourth line center, but I watched this guy play about 6 to 8 times last year. And I know that's not a ton if you're a professional scout, but I thought Noah Gregor, who's signed with Toronto Maple Leafs, he's big, he's fast, and he can skate and shoot. And I like that. Like that's what I'd like to see in this third, fourth line. Now I don't know why it didn't work out in San Jose and why he wasn't signed over the winter. But, on a PTO, I wonder if that wouldn't have been a spot. So I'm sure they'll be watching all the guys. But that's kind of a guy. He seems to fit what Ken Holland likes. Big, fast wingers.
I'm not expecting any more PTOs, but we'll see what happens between now and camp. Zuby, what else the people bringing?
Mitchell Falk, I'm going to kind of paraphrase and add a little bit of my own, but he says if the Oilers played a more structured game, i.e. with the lead a little bit more, if they were a little bit more even-keeled, got better starts, is that the kind of thing that gives players like Holloway more time to, quote, get their licks in, as he says?
Easier to play young guys, Struds, when the game is in hand or when you're still in it, when you're not chasing, right? If you're a slow-starting team, I think it benefits everybody when you get into a game and you can roll 4 lines and you stay in it, right? When Woodcroft gets his lines out early, he tends to keep going with them.
He does, and that's on him. Part of that's on him, right, to stick with it. And I know it's hard when you have 97 and 29 sitting there to not put him out there. Like, I get it. But the other thing that helps is when you're a player that you're predictable. And young players tend to be unpredictable because the coaches want to know what they're going to get. And people are always like, oh, this guy likes veteran players. Yeah, because they're predictable. Now, to become predictable, you have to unfortunately go through the unpredictable phase of your career. And so that's hard to get him out there and to make that happen. So Jay has to keep pushing him out the door. But, I think that for the Oilers, I'm just looking for overall consistency in their play. Just where there's a template, this is the game they bring, road, home, tired, whatever it is, they're playing this their style, and they played for the entire 60.
100%. Just looking at the stream here, Zuby, we had a good question come in. What do you expect from Broberg, Struds? That one came from Dr. Gonzo.
Well, they didn't bring in much competition for him, did they? It seems like those are the 7 guys that are going to be there. So, are there nights where they dress 70? And do him and Vinny Darnay take some time to mix and match, or they put other guys in there that play with them? But he, not unlike Dylan Holloway, has to get some ice time to kind of find his groove. I love the way he skates. I love his size. I'd like to see him carry the puck a little more and get up in the play and support it more. But I think there's a player there. Unfortunately, on the left side, I don't know where he gets his ice time.
Yeah, it's going to be a similar situation for me to Dylan Holloway, and that Philip Broberg needs to play, right? He needs to contribute in the play. They need to know what they've got with this player at the NHL level. And so I think it's going to take some time. They're going to have to be willing to play him, right? And it's going to be tough because the bulk of his minutes of his opportunity, barring injuries, are going to come on the right side. And it's not, he can do it, but it's not his comfort zone. And if you want to integrate this player into the league and give him his best chance at getting as far as he can, as quick as he can, it's on the left side, not the right side. But they're pretty stacked over on that left side. Zuby, keep them coming.
Struds, do you have in-ground irrigation or how do you water?
Pretty personal question, but I will answer it.
If you're willing to share that with us, if you're afraid that other people won't start watering too, Struds.
I have in-ground, but I also at times, because I've seen him at the golf course, they get out there, Carl Spackler, and he kind of, does it freehand, and I freehand as well. So just depends on what the lawn needs. It's a good question.
What's the percentage, if you guys were to guess right now, what's the percentage of goalie starts this year? Who gets what?
Yeah, I'm gonna put late 40 starts for Stuart Skinner. Late 40s, early 50s starts. I think that Campbell's going to get into the conversation this year, and I think he's going to make it interesting.
I hope that's what happens. And that'd be the best thing for the Oilers if Campbell pushes, and we're sitting here some nights saying, you know what? They got to get him more ice time or more games.
Yeah, 100%. That'll be a fun one to watch, though, the goaltending battle and how Jack Campbell looks. Because if he can come in, grab some confidence early, that'll be difference making. That was Ask Us Anything, brought to you by Weiss Johnson. Are the captain skates just NHL, AHL, or any of the young guns skating with them as well? There's some young players out there too. I think for the most part, it's players that are kind of in that range of getting into the mix to make the team this season. That'll wrap it up. Zuby, great job tonight. Struds, Tough dig on Brownie. I'm not sure he's going to come back after that.
It was funny though. We have to admit it was funny.
It was funny. Yes, it was funny. It was aggressive. It was funny but aggressive, much like Davin telling you to patch up the lawn on your forehead. Davin, we don't have text of the day. That's Nilsson's show. But if we did have a text of the day, that would have been it from Davin. By the way, really looking forward to appearing tomorrow morning. It'll be the Monday morning mandate. The Monday morning got your back mandate on Dusty's show. Want to say a huge congratulations, by the way, Nilsson and Gazzola and Matawanek, Lieutenant Eric. They got themselves off to a great start over at Edmonton Sports Talk. It's really good content, so by all means, check it out. Also want to congratulate Gregor and Kevin Carius, Low Tide, the crew over at 1440. They got up and running last week as well. So Oiler fan, have you ever felt as serviced as you do right now? There's tons out there. Lots of room for everybody, but congrats to those guys for getting their operations up and running. Struttie, I know you'll do a little bit of stuff with Greg's here and there too. Just good to hear everybody back on air. Hey, buddy?
It's great. I mean, there's a lot of fans out there that want to hear what everyone's got to say.
Absolutely. So I'll be on Dusty's show tomorrow morning at 8:25. Struds, Brownie, and I are going to drop pods all through the week with Zuby as well. Thanks for your downloads and your subscriptions. Do us a favor. Go drop us a review over on iTunes. I won't ask you for 5 stars. I won't ask you. Whatever you think we're worth, give it to us. But we want your reviews. We want to hear from you. Thanks for your downloads and subs. Talk to you in a couple of days. Cheers. Oh, I timed that good with the music. Listen to that drop. Boom.